You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, I got to tell you, I saw this in passing earlier, completely by accident. It came across my Twitter, and it was from a few days ago involving the CBA and talk of a potential lockout. ESPN put this article up, and there was a paragraph in it that caught my attention. And it was a, wait, what? Question mark moment? You did what? They did what? And how did this not get more play? Because ESPN's the one that wrote the article, and they're the ones that had the quote. And the players still have a sticking point. All right, now, keep in mind, they're trying to get a new CBA. They want a pay raise. The new media rights deal is coming. With the new media rights deal, and look, make no mistake, merch aside, attendance aside, where the money in sports is with television rights, period. Let's not get confused. Yeah, sure, there's some other change with attendance and this and that and the other, merch, whatever their own personal brands are getting. Yeah, okay, fine. But far as salaries go, it's television rights money, all right? It's what happened in the MLB. It's what's happened in the NBA. And certainly what has happened in the National Football League and college football, now that they're getting paid for something as well. I mean, college football is really the second most valuable sporting brand that there is now, right? So I saw this, and there was a portion of this that dropped my jaw. WNBA CBA negotiations from revenue sharing to potential lockout. Now, they're trying to avoid a potential lockout. Gabby Williams came out and said from the All-Star game that the owners really and truly don't want them playing an Unrivaled. In fact, they don't even want Unrivaled to exist anymore. And I was like, well, yeah, no shit, because it's a professional basketball league they see as a competitive force. And now that you're starting to see WNBA ratings regress, now that Caitlin Clark's been out so long, the ratings are starting to head in the opposite direction now. Now, they got that media rights deal, make no mistake, because of one player. We know who that player is. She came out of Iowa, plays point guard for the Indiana Fever. That is the only reason they got that kind of money. They went from $60 million to what is supposed to be somewhere between $240 and $270. $240 to $270 million. The ratings that came with that, and the drawing of a new fan base into the league. Regular sports fans have entered the chat because of the superstar. But now that's starting to sort of fade a little bit because that superstar is not available. People will disengage with the entire league if Caitlin Clark's not around. It happened with Michael Jordan. I mean, it did. The entire NBA, the ratings went down after Michael Jordan retired. And they didn't start bouncing back until really the Kobe and Shaq thing started happening. We knew going into WNBA season that the league's collective bargaining negotiations with players would be one of the most important issues of 2025. With no deal in place ahead of the current CBA expiring October 31, it has become the single most important topic. During the WNBA All-Star Weekend in mid-July, the players put the focus squarely on the CBA. Players described the meeting with Kathy Engelbert, an ownership representative in Indianapolis, as a, quote, missed opportunity to come closer to terms. Before the July 19th All-Star Game, players wore a, quote, pay us what you owe us shirt. Nothing did more damage to their brand and trying to get the fans on their side than that. I mean, literally, they came out for that. I immediately stopped everything I was doing, sat down, made a video on those T-shirts. It is the biggest video I've had in the last 30 days. I was like, oh, that's a terrible look. That's a terrible look because so many people know it's common knowledge your league has never turned a profit. Even retired WNBA legend Candace Parker said during her Post Moves podcast with Indiana Fever's Aaliyah Boston that it wasn't a great look for the players to wear shirts and then give little to no effort during the game. That was a double whammy. Correct. That game was terrible. It was awful. Meanwhile, Engelbert has stayed on message with mostly positive platitudes, guiding management and ownership response, or lack thereof, that isn't focused on public perception. Will the sides move closer over the next few months? ESPN looks at what we've learned this point about the CBA negotiations. This is where it gets interesting, folks. There are several, but the most important is revenue sharing, how it's determined, and whether the percentage will be allowed to grow during the course of the CBA and not be a fixed number for the duration of the deal. Quote, the players are still adamant that we get a percentage of revenue that grows with the business, which perhaps includes team revenue, and that's just a part of the conversation. The WNBA Players Association president, Nika Ogumake, told ESPN, fans are used to salary caps for the NBA and NFL being set based on a percentage of what the CBA describes as, quote, basketball-related income. By contrast, the WNBA's current CBA defined the cap for each season ahead of time with modest 3% annual raises. A mechanism in the CBA that would increase the cap based on revenue was effectively invalid by the timing of the deal. Invalidated. Well, yeah, but then you've also got things like the owner's occurring expenses for flights and yada, yada, yada. You name it, new facilities, all this stuff. But never mind. Let's go down here. Per Ogumake, the WNBA's latest offer to its players, and this is the bombshell, folks, while dramatically increasing the salary cap and maximum base salaries, which a league source suggested could quadruple to at least $1 million from their current $249,244, follows the same model as the current CBA. So in case you did not catch that, they were offered a raise of 4 times what they're making now, at least on the Supermax contracts, which you got to figure was a model that was followed under all the amounts underneath by comparison. All right, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, all these players that so much got attention because they were making what? They're making 75, 77, 78,000 a year. They would come into the league making about 300,000 a year, or a little over. So over, a 3-year, 4-year span, they're making like 1.2 million, right? And then as soon as they're eligible for a Supermax contract, if they qualify for that, all right, then they can go up to $1 million. That's about, and I'm going to tell you, I think that's a little steep based on where the media rights deal is. I would have shot for 3 times the amount, about $750 on the max. Because what happens, and that's where we'll cool it, because that's really the takeaway from this. They got offered 4 times the contract, and it looks like they turned it down. Well, we want to be able to grow as the league grows. Well, that's great. But just wondering if the league begins to regress in the event that there's a catastrophic injury, or she gets fed up and decides to retire or go overseas. To Caitlin Clark, do we not believe the people giving out said money in the media rights deal are not going to be like going to the networks going, excuse me, this deal is not worth anywhere close to what we've given to you now that Caitlin Clark no longer plays in this league? We've already seen the ratings are slowly but surely easing back in the direction of where they came from. And she's only been out, she's been out half the season. Imagine an official retirement, an official, I'm done here. I'm going somewhere else. I'm going to Turkey. I'm going to Spain. I'm not going to say Russia, but Russia sure does pay good. That's neither here nor there. You get my point. Is there going to be a way that the percentage can retract and go backwards? Because I bet these players are not okay with that. Oh, well, wait a minute. Our league's not worth nearly as much as it was while she was still in it, but we still want to keep the same escalation. Because these fans ain't fitting to hang around if she's not playing. We're seeing it right now. Aces game, 180,000 viewers. The other game that was on that night, 160,000. I think it was a Mercury game, Phoenix Mercury game, 160,000 viewers. And you still want to play an Unrivaled. You still want to be able to go overseas. They turned down. Is that what we're getting? Because the deal wasn't done. So evidently, you turned down 4 times the salary. I said, you've heard me say it in these videos, they're going to be okay as long as they don't get delusional and start asking for the house. Well, turning down a 4 times raise is pretty GD delusional. That's delusional. If nothing else, I could see, hey, let's do a new CBA, and instead of making it for whatever, 4 years or 5 years, let's do it for 3 years, and then we'll revisit based on where the league is then. But there's still ways that this league could regress. There are. I understand they get more money for franchise rights and all that, and that's all great. As long as the Golden Goose is still active. But the moment she's not, you got a problem. Because these networks are going to be like, well, for what we paid, we want you to run, we want double the amount of ad space. We want 2-for-1 value. All kinds of things that I've seen happen in the NFL. Oh, well, you sold us that the ratings were going to be this. They weren't really this. So we're now asking for additional ads in other places. That's a thing. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.